Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Influencer Confidential. I am so excited to be here today with these two fabulous women, Cassie Tucker and Erica Spitzley from the Marketing Happy Hour podcast. I actually listened to their podcast, stumbled upon some of their episodes, and being that here at Sidewalker we're all about pitching, I pitched them to be on the show and they said yes. So I'm really excited to bring them on today, talk all things marketing with these fabulous entrepreneurs and ask some questions. But before we dive in, everyone, maybe we could start off with just some intros. Cassie, if you want to take us off, and then maybe Erica can jump in, just so the Sidewalker community, which just to also let you guys know is mostly creator and influencer. So all our forward-facing channels are speaking to creator and influencer. Brands listen in because they're spying and they want to know like what's going on. So we have lots of brand spies. A lot, but just to kind of give you a little bit of context of who's listening in. So if you ladies want to start us off with some intros, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Nina, for having us on. Super excited to be here and to chat with all of you. So my name's Cassie Tucker. I have been everywhere in my career, started in PR, went into the hospitality and restaurant industry for a long time, did marketing strategy for them, social media, then ventured eventually off to New York City to work for a social media agency where I not only worked on the social strategy side, but worked with a lot of different influencers and creators to launch a couple brands, which was super exciting. And then eventually went into creating my own agency, Cam Media, which I have now. And with Cam Media, a big focus now is marketing strategy and PR strategy overall. So work with a lot of personal brands, a couple artists, and a few local businesses, but mostly my focus is personal brand now, which has been a lot of fun.
Oh, and that's so important. I always, whenever I think about personal branding, I think it's probably one of the most overlooked things that for creators, because we always just want to jump into things like growth and reels and posting and numbers, but it's like, whoa, back up, fundamentals. What is our personal brand? Who are we? What's our mission statements? What's our positioning? All of that. So I love that. That's super cool. And welcome, Erica.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're so grateful to be here. Thanks again for pitching us. And you guys are please. We're very excited to be here. I am Erica Spitzley. I have also been around the block on all things marketing. I started off in the restaurant world. I did manage the influencer program for a large restaurant group. And then I took a diversion over to Nashville. Like Cassie went to New York and I went to Nashville literally at the same time, which was so fun to just have somebody in that kind of situation with me. And we were chatting back and forth about moving to a new big city and what that experience was like. Loved that. But while I was in Nashville, I worked with a couple small businesses doing their social media, any local influencer events. Came back to Florida around the same time Cassie did. Started working here in the restaurant industry and also worked with this small a social media agency and did a lot of stuff there. And then I was brought on board at a hair care brand. That was such a great experience. That's really where I dived in with all things PR and influencer. We did some major events. We did Create and Cultivate, New York Fashion Week, all that good stuff. So really, really enjoyed my time there. Then after that, I transitioned over to a role that was more in the online digital space. And so really enjoyed that too. And just recently, I have taken a step towards PR and marketing consulting. And I'm working with a couple of brands that are super fun in that space. So it's just, overall great. I love PR. That's my sweet spot. And I think that I'm stepping a lot more into that, which is what I love to do.
So I am so pumped. And let me tell you why, because I feel like the listeners today are in for a treat. My listeners being creator and influencer, that they have three girls on the brand side, right? Really dishing the brand perspective of what it's like to work with you all that are listening in. We love you guys, but there's definitely struggles along the way. Okay, so what I think will be great is, how did you two meet? I want to know that before we dive into all the nitty gritty, because I'm just nosy, but how did you guys meet?
Love it.
And we can go into, some brand side questions for the creators listening.
Take it away.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's really funny. We were doing a brand ambassador program for this brand called So Worth Loving, which has a really awesome mission behind it. And we just kind of stumbled into that. It was kind of like our first dabble, I would say, into like affiliate marketing in a way, which we didn't even know really. I didn't really know what that was at that time. I was still in college. And so I was living in Orlando, working for Disney. Erica was in Orlando at UCF, the school there. And we were like, listen, we're in the same area. Let's meet up. So we met up in a town in Orlando, just kind of said, hey, and kicked it off since then. And that was, 2015, I believe.
Oh my
For
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Been a while.
no, it's been a while. So for the last 7 years, we've been really close friends, and we've always had kind of this idea of starting something together. We have this shared passion for food and beverage, both coming from the restaurant industry. And so we love going to restaurants, love trying new places. We've been all over the place with each other, and our itineraries are hilarious. Like, we have to try every new restaurant. And so eventually at one point we're like, let's start like a wine company, some sort of subscription thing or whatever. And then eventually we're like, you know what? We're both in marketing, but we have this shared passion for like food and beverage. Let's create like this brand called Marketing Happy Hour and kind of fuse the two in a way. And so in April of 2021, I believe, we kicked off on Clubhouse with the podcast and eventually shifted more into the real podcast format. And so ever since like June or July of last year, we've been in this podcast format, creating a community together as well on LinkedIn and different social platforms. And it's been a load of fun.
I will definitely include the link to the LinkedIn group also in the show notes, like at the bottom, because I think that's a really interesting space, like LinkedIn groups. There's always something, right? There's like always a group. And it's like, and it's cool to see you guys using LinkedIn like that. So I don't know if you guys know, but I have like the PR background, also on the brand side, like doing influencer campaigns, all the things. And it's interesting, right, for our industry, all being like kind of like the PR gals, that the influencers are kind of in our space, but then also they're like in marketing, like on the ad side, because we need budget for them versus like paid media are earned. And it's like, I'm sure you guys have seen such changes happening as well in our industry. Like, I always look at it like a Venn diagram. I'm like, where do these influencers fit? Like, at least in 2016 when I started and people did not believe in the industry, jokes on them, right? But look at where things are shifting. Look at where things are going. The influencers, like, we were like, where do they belong? Are they PR? Like, are they us? Like, do we deal with them because they're media and they basically like are giving our clients certain coverage? But then it's like, it's different than journalism, right? Or like traditional writers. So we're like, we need budget. So we're like, we're in our ads teams and be like, can we pull from them to pay? Like, it's like interesting how it all, because like 10 years ago, this was like not even a thing. And now we're seeing PR teams absorbing the influencer campaigns. Like, all the agencies now that I used to consult for are like, oh yeah, influencer marketing is one of the things that we offer. Whereas before, like, I've been just reading data and stats, like influencer marketing was just not a thing. And now I think about 93% of marketers are using it in their as part of their marketing plan. It's like here to stay. So I'm actually curious to kick off with, what are your thoughts about this space, like the influencer marketing space, being that you guys have been doing this for a while? Where do you guys kind of see it all? Like, I want to talk a little bit like about history, like where it started. Like, what are your opinions on the industry? It's moving so fast. I feel like every week or something, there's like a new creator tool. And especially because you were all like kind of PR, like, these are our people. Like, these are the people that we are like working with. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on where the industry is now and the changes that we're seeing?
Yeah, I can start. So in the beginning, I think like 2014, I had a blog. So I was kind of also on the other side of the beginning of this influencer marketing push. And I would work with brands and do like giveaways, and it wasn't like crazy, but that was like my first little hand into the influencer world. And so I think coming from that side and then stepping into the brand side, it was very, very interesting to like see how things actually work in the back end. In all of my experience, most of the influencer campaigns that I worked on have been under the guise of social media. But I think as we step into more of like experiential marketing or like events in person and all of these other avenues, I think it is becoming more of like PR's responsibility to handle the guest lists and things like that. It's funny, we're actually going tonight. I don't know when this podcast will come out, but Cassie and I are going to an opening of a hotel in Tampa. Very exciting. And a PR firm is handling that entire experience from start to finish, inviting all the influencers, any guests of the influencers, I guess. So it's definitely pushed more onto the PR side now, I think, which is really exciting. And I love seeing that shift and kind of just like even more of a play into the influencer is not just a social media play anymore. It's more of like, you know, an all-encompassing thing. And influencers can now be like an ambassador of your brand. You can do collaborations with them. Like you can do all sorts of things with influencers as like the face of your products or services.
Yeah. And I think what drew probably, Cassie, I'll let you jump in, but what drew so many of us into PR was like the excitement of, that was one of my questions, like what drew you into this space, like PR and like being in the zone. And now like we are kind of like at the forefront of this wave of creator. And I think we'll see a big shift of responsibility. Like I know all the agencies that they're all like we do influencer marketing too. Like, you know, so it's kind of like who gets to kind of because it's a big fundamental part of marketing, people's marketing plans now is the influencer budget in this space. I don't know, Cassie, if you had anything to add or any thoughts.
Yeah, no, kind of piggybacking off of what you both already said, it's really interesting because before I look at from a career space, there weren't really influencer marketing roles when I first started, at least. Even when I was in college, like my college launched the first social media course when I was there, which is so weird. And now it's like a whole major and you can go into it. But kind of similar with the influencer space, it was just kind of a supplement to what we did. We were mostly marketing strategists, but we're like, oh, we'll offer influencer marketing or we'll contract influencers from time to time, but it wasn't really like a core part of what we did. And now it is. And I think on the influencer side, influencers, we're asking them to be a lot more multifaceted. So writers, maybe they're creating blog posts for us. Maybe they're videographers or photographers creating really big, really great creative for us. Or maybe they're actors in commercials for like brand campaigns, or maybe they're designing products alongside a brand. So it's really interesting to see all that influencers are able to offer now. So I think the more versatile you can bring different services and solutions to the table on the brand side, I think brands are really going to start gravitating more towards those type of creators and influencers.
Totally. It's like the one-man show, right? They're like hair, makeup, this, that. They do all the skills. It's like talent, like all the things that you would have had to hire 10 people for. You can find them in like 2 or 3, right? So when you guys are onboarding your clients, what would you think is like one of the biggest misconceptions that brands bring to the table about like working with creators, like hesitancies or thoughts? Like I think about like, no offense to my old clients, but like the old fogey guys, like I'd bring them on and they're like, what's this thing? You know, I'm like, trust me, like we're going to want to like reach out to these people. They have trusted audiences. Like they're really like, you're going to want to like invest. And kind of there are misconceptions, right? Maybe some of the newer clients that you guys are onboarding, or they get it, they know it. But I know for us, like there was this educational curve of explaining the process. So with that, what are some misconceptions or some thoughts when you guys are bringing your clients on and you're proposing influencer, services or campaigns as part of your budget? What are their initial thoughts, comments, or what's the reactions that we're getting about building a social strategy, but bringing creators onto it?
Yeah, go ahead, Erica.
Okay, I was going to jump in, but I was like, I went first on the last question. Maybe Cash to go this time. I think there is still a huge learning curve with leadership in different organizations, and I just know from my experience, a lot of times the CFO or, the financial guys are wondering about the budget and how influencers actually impact the bottom line. So I think that's a huge area of opportunity of just being able to explain how influencers actually have these multiple touch points with the ideal consumer, and that you're able to tap into new audiences that maybe you're not able to do on your own as a brand. I think that's super important to be able to convey. And so I try to do my best to, when I'm bringing on any new clients or anything like that, I try my best to give that advice and kind of explain with case studies and things like that, how in the past, that could really impact the bottom line influencer marketing. And so I think coming from the influencer side, if you are pitching to brands, it's probably important to bring that too. Demonstrate how you've impacted, the bottom line, I guess, during any individual campaigns, whether that's through a discount code that people were using, or even just a general lift and displaying some of the comments that people left on your posts or things like that. I think it's super important too. So just that
because it takes the work off of the brand, oh, look at this positive comment, but if this can be kind of all bundled in, to kind of share. And I think a big part of our job is not only educating our clients, but setting those realistic expectations. This is not a magic wand. We did not hire the fairy godmother. This is when you run a Super Bowl ad, they flop. Or when you run TV ads or Facebook ads, they flop. Things flop, So it's setting this expectation as well, I think is so important. It's not to say that the campaigns will flop. It's just that I sometimes find that they think there's this magic wand of sales.
Yeah.
The influencer is supposed to now be part of their sales team. And I'm just but you're paying them for one post and they have 10 seconds to talk about you. So it's
right.
Let's think about this, guys, right? And the actual campaign.
Yeah. And more, I think it takes multiple touch points for somebody to be convinced to buy your product or service. So thinking about it that way as an influencer can just be one of those elements is really important to realize as well.
Totally. And Cassie, what about some of your brand clients when you come to the table? Because I know you do a lot with your agency, you do the content. You also probably have done different influencer campaigns, or working just with creators in general, maybe UGC content or outsourcing the content. How do you help them? Or do you notice, are there misconceptions? Are your clients excited? Are they not? Are they hesitant? Are they ready? What's the energy when you're proposing kind of a little bit more of an influencer plan for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say more on the creator side, the people I work with are obviously eager to work with brands to get paid and things like that. But on the brand side, I think the number one question with really anything new that you're proposing or new campaigns that you're going to be talking about, they're going to ask what's in it for us. And so coming back to that research on here's what's worked for other brands that are similar to us. These are the ideas we want to try. And then also to Erica's point, having the creator propose different ideas and case studies and, their media kits and everything to kind of back those claims that you're bringing to the brand. So ultimately just asking that question for them and having that data in play. And I think too, educating the brand side, I think a lot of people think that it's just, okay, we'll send the product to that person. They'll post one time and sales are just going to be flooding in. So making sure they understand that A, it takes time, and B, like you guys said, having multiple touch points to kind of talk to the audience in different areas and meet them where they're at, I think is super important. There can also be a lot of different strategies to influencer marketing. Maybe it's just an awareness play versus a sales play. So making sure, again, the brand knows that, hey, we're just working towards X, Y, Z, and maybe it's not sales this time. And then over time, developing that relationship with the influencer, maybe to drive their audience down the funnel.
Yeah, we had a campaign earlier this year when supply chain was crazy and we actually didn't have inventory, but we weren't going to stop. Or, we wanted to be still on the pulse. We still wanted everyone to be talking about our product. So, we did have to shuffle around and do an entire campaign around just brand awareness so that we were, mentioned and relevant, keeping up our relevancy. especially as a market leader. The product I was working with was the market leader in their category. So sometimes it's not just sales guys. I don't think people are expecting you to be that extension of their sales team, but sometimes it's just giving them access to your human and your audience. So with that said, are there brands that you guys think are just killing it with their marketing in general? Like any brands that you are just that kind of like look up to, or you're like, oh, I'd love to have them as a client, like they're killing it, they're doing great. Or just like, I'm just curious if what's on your mind in terms of like industry trends and stuff.
Yeah, I personally love Base. I was thinking about this question earlier today, and I was like, Base is one of the first brands that came to mind. It's Shay Mitchell's like luggage and bag brand. And her brand is kind of interesting because although she is an actress, she's kind of more of an influencer now in a way, or personality. Yes. And so again, to that point, that more and more creators are kind of creating their own product lines, and she does a really good job at obviously she's the face of the brand, but it adds to the personality of the brand, and she's hilarious and I love their videos. And so it literally makes me want to buy those bags just based off of the content and the video. And
she knows her person.
Yes.
Yeah. She like knows her human. She's like, I know who they are. Like she just knows, you know? And I know her ads too. I've seen them. I'm like, oh, so good.
So good. Yeah.
She's good. She knows. She is. It's so crazy. She's actress influencer. So wild.
So good. Yeah. So good.
We love her over here at Marketing Happy Hour too. I think our first season, every single episode, I was drinking an Ando, which is her brand of tequila seltzer. And I was like, I don't even like tequila, but this is amazing. Somehow Shay Mitchell's done it again. Like she's amazing. So I love their stuff too. Anda is fantastic as well.
Oh, that's so cool. And it's also cool when you start feeling like you know the brand, when you feel like it's humanized. And it's like, I mean, I don't feel that way about like, you know, Verizon, right? It's like, right. Certain Verizon, you know, it's just like interesting to like what the product is, and especially when brands are going after such a specific human and they're so clear, and that like brand loyalty really seeps in. And I think it's obviously all the marketing efforts that are doing this. One of the things I think we all could speak to is obviously influencer marketing is on the rise. The data is there. Tons of creators are, 15 million people consider themselves a creator, or it's up to 1 billion soon. There's so many apps and tools and resources. Like this is becoming, and I think we're at a $16 billion industry, and I'm sure it's going to even get crazier because we're just getting started. There are a lot of new jobs. Cassie kind of mentioned this briefly, like there's now social media, like there's degrees on this and like all of that. There's a lot of young women that maybe want to be creators, but then they're like, oh no, like I'm going to get on the brand side, or oh no, I'm gonna, you know, maybe they're interested in the industry. They don't know what part of the industry, but they love the industry, right? They're like, maybe I want to be an assistant to an influencer. Maybe I'm going to be an influencer myself. Maybe I want to work on the brand side. Maybe I want to start my own agency and do content creation. Like they know they want to be in this space in some capacity. They don't know how. I think I've seen a lot of my people are very gung-ho about making it as a full-time content creator or influencer. But I have seen people in our community kind of go different paths. So what would be like, not the number one piece of advice, because I don't think there's like ever one piece, but like what are some advice that you would give to, you know, people listening in who want to get into the influencer marketing industry? They don't know like, what should I do consulting? Like, how do I get into this? Like, I don't know. I love this industry. I talked to a girl the other day. She was like, literally told me, I love the influencer industry. I love it. I don't know where I want to be in it, but I want to be in it. It's like, I don't know if you guys felt this way. When I was in college, I knew I loved fashion. I didn't know where in fashion. I was like, do I want to be a buyer? Do I want to like do planning? Do I want to be a stylist? Do I want to design? Do I want to be I didn't know where, but I knew I love the industry. And I think people are feeling that now about our industry, like influencer marketing. There's so many roles that you could take. So what would be some advice to people getting, you know, starting off, listening in to get into this industry? What would you guys give? What was some advice that you'd be giving to the new people entering?
Yeah, I think learn as much as you can, absorb as much as you can. There's a ton of free resources out there. All of those platforms that you were mentioning, like any social media platform, any influencer marketing platforms, there's specifically platforms for influencer marketing now, which is so great. They all put on events, like virtual events, in-person events, things like that. Go to those, absorb as much as you can. They're bringing in brands to give you the behind the scenes look at what it's like from their perspective. So totally just going to everything, learning everything, chatting with people that are in the industry. If you make connections with people who are on the influencer side with brands, they're more likely to value that relationship and bring you on board for some like in eventual campaigns with the brand. So, or introduce you to the right people so that you can achieve your dreams with a different brand that they might know. So really just absorbing as much as you can, leaning into networking as much as you can, going to all the events, learning all of that.
Yes,
That I made your type.
people forget network. Like you guys, like it's like this is like older millennial vibes here, but I'm just kind of like, why is it always behind the screen? Like you're so magnetic. Like all of us, it's like when I meet people in person, people are like, oh my God, like you're amazing. You're such a breath of fresh air, all the things. And I'm like I always think to myself, like, guys, get out there, like meet people, like go to these like little cocktails or meetups or little PR events. Like I know we were in a weird COVID zone and we're, you know, on the other side now, luckily of the coin, or fingers crossed we are. But I love that. I just think like if in order to find your zone, just like in any industry, you have to test different zones out. Like I didn't know what space I wanted to be in. And then I went on a press trip as an influencer. They brought us on and I was like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Like I want to be on brand side. And then when I was on brand side, I was like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I want to like be educating and like helping creators because they need my help more. So it's like, you can't know what you want until you test all the spaces to find your home, you know? Cassie, how did you, I mean, I know you again have your own agency and this is something that you do now, but what are your thoughts? I'd love to hear any advice for people that like, how did you kind of get settled in where you are now too? And I'm sure there's so many people that are like, oh, I want to do what she does. Like, I want to have my own agency or I want to do client work and stuff. So any words of advice there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with running your own thing, you have to be very organized and very good at communication with people. So I would say that having a side hustle or something on the side of your full-time job can help lead to that. And then also one of the things I did at the very beginning is if I wanted to get better at something or I wanted to build my portfolio before I had a paying client, just offering a couple services for free. Honestly, I know that's kind of like, oh, why would I take up my time and offer something for free? Not saying you have to do it forever, but at the beginning, use that as a portfolio builder. And then you can approach different clients or brands and say, hey, I've done this for XYZ client, or more on the influencer side too. You know, trade partnerships. I know that's a great way at the very beginning of starting your influencer career to get experience, to learn how to develop creative for a brand based on their goals. And I think just being diversified in your skill set too, I think I said earlier, is just learning how to work a camera, learning how to create videos on different apps, learning to write too. I'm a huge advocate for writing in this industry. And so if you feel uneasy about your writing skills, just write more, write blogs, you know, create a blog for yourself or another brand. And so the more you just get out there, get experience, talk to people, network, you'll become an expert in no time.
That's really refreshing because I feel like I never hear anyone say about writing. Like everyone's like shortboard video, like do video, you know, I never hear anyone say about writing, you know, so it's super refreshing. And it's about finding, guys, like what works for you and, you know, what you personally enjoy. So you don't have to do video if you don't like doing video. There's so many spaces in this industry to fill, right? With that, I know we're close to wrapping up. I did have a few more questions about just kind of like the social media space in general. Do you guys see, you know, in terms of trends, like what's coming, what's going? You guys mentioned Clubhouse. You're like, oh, we started Clubhouse. Like it's like Clubhouse, like RIP, you know? So it's like, what do you guys see as some changes in the industry? Like, where do you see it kind of going? Any predictions? Like if we had the crystal ball, what are some things that you guys see like happening? And this could be for brands or creators, just in the social media space. What do you guys think is going to be like different a year from now, or stay the same, or all of that?
Cassie, you want to talk about metaverse?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God. I know. I'm stressed thinking about it. I know. It's not funny.
I want to learn about it. I'm like, I don't want
to. I'm the same way.
I know. I know nothing. I've heard Zuckerberg talk about it a couple of times, and I'm like, cringe. I'm out. So
older millennial.
Oh,
like, not done.
I know. But honestly, like, it sucks. Like, we said that about a lot of things in the past too. We're like, oh, reels are here, stories are here. When stories first were created, we're like, oh my gosh, now we have like 9 different places to post in one platform. I think it can be scary, and again, not everything is for everyone. So I tell, on the brand side, people come to me, they're like, oh, I need to be on TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn and Be Real and like all these different platforms. And I'm like, okay, let's take a step back.
Yeah.
Like, kind of figure out what your goals are, and maybe at the beginning we start with a few and then we can kind of build from there. But I think what just emerging trends is taking your time to research, figure out how it can fit into your personal brand or your brand on the product or service space. And I think in terms of trends, I think more storytelling. I know we've been talking about that for a long time, but just personality to brands, and also on the influencer side, telling your story, being a lot more authentic and transparent is going to be very important on both sides, really. And so figuring out what that thing is that you want to stand for and that you want to talk about and share with the audience, and using that to connect with people out there. The more touch points, the better with people, because people want to connect with other people, even online. And so if you're on the brand side, figure out how to humanize your brand. We talked about Shay Mitchell's the face. We kind of feel like we know her because she's present on the platform all the time. So same thing with both the influencer and brand side in the future. I think that's going to continue to be really important.
I feel you. I agree. Erica, crystal ball, thoughts?
I love this question. And we've had this topic like come up so much in the Marketing Happy Hour podcast, and even a podcast that we recorded yesterday. I think Cassie hit the nail on the head with just like the authenticity piece. I think we're leaning a lot more into just being transparent about like a brand's values and things like that. If your consumer can trust you and you're working with creators and people that they trust as well, I think that is really going to start to have even more of a play in like who's buying your products and consumer behavior. I love the forward thinking of like, what are the new emerging platforms? But then I'm torn between, are brands going to go to all the platforms that are out there? We saw, I think American Eagle just was one of the first brands to come on to Be Real, which is hilarious. I'm not on Be Real and I don't plan to be on Be Real, but it's so funny to like see that could be a possibility for brands. But I'm torn between, are brands going to do that, or are they going to try to develop some of these social media features within their own website or app so that they're like playing to their audience, making you stay on their website instead of being on these other platforms. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens there for sure.
Yeah. The reason I think this is so important of a question, even though it's repetitive, it's because first to market like wins the race type of vibe. Like I know with my influencers, like the ones that jumped on Instagram first, like they're reaping the rewards. The guys that jumped on TikTok first, they're like that's why people always want to know, because they want to be like first and like kill it. Because especially, it's like there is this urgency, like not urgency, but false urgency, but kind of there too. Like if you like, I know the brands that jumped on TikTok ads first, like Chipotle, and like before brands even realized, like even LVMH, like in the metaverse, like it's like being forward thinking is so important for, like, I always tell the creators in my community, like, this is your industry. You need to have Google alerts up. You need to know what's happening. You need to like have your, listen to podcasts like ours, be involved. No, this is your space. So, and be nimble. Being nimble is an important one. But anyways, ladies, thank you guys so much. This has been awesome talking all things marketing. I hope the creators in our community were able to get some of that brand perspective. Do you want to let us know a little bit about like how we can follow you, websites, Instagrams? I'll put all the links in the below your podcast, maybe whatever. Let us know how we can keep in touch.
Yeah. So my two platforms are Instagram and LinkedIn. So Cassie Joy Tucker on Instagram and Cassie Tucker on LinkedIn. And then Marketing Happy Hour, we also love Instagram and LinkedIn. So at Marketing Happy HR on Instagram and then Marketing Happy Hour on LinkedIn.
Perfect. I will link both of those. And Erica, yours?
Yeah. Yeah. So I also love LinkedIn. LinkedIn's my favorite. So I'm just Erica Spitzley on LinkedIn, Spitz on Instagram if you care to see my curated images of all the places that I've been, which is hilarious. That's all I post on Instagram. People are like, oh, you need to do like fun photo dumps of like you and your friends. And I'm like, here's this pretty coffee shop I went to. Like, it's so funny. But
well, and better than me, I don't post anything personal. Like my business page is like, my mom's like, you're on Instagram all the time. I'm like, yeah, I shot those videos like 2 months ago and I've been posting them. Like, so kudos, hats off to you for even posting stuff.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And as Cassie said, Marketing Happy HR on Instagram. If you click the link in our bio there, you'll find everything you need, like everywhere to listen to the podcast, our LinkedIn group, our email newsletter, and all the good stuff. So.
Yes, I'll include all that, the links below. Wait, before we go, I think this is important because both of you like seem to really love LinkedIn, and the creators in my community are back and forth about like, should I join LinkedIn as a creator? It's like weird. I don't have a job. Like, da da da. So give us the deets or the dish. Like, why do you guys love LinkedIn so much? And is it a good tool for creators to use?
I love talking about this. It is the only platform where when you connect with another person, so say that you want to like follow this other person, so you hit that connect button. If they approve your connection request, they are now following along with you too. So if you're on Instagram and you hit the follow button, they may never know who you are. They're not seeing your content. They're not following you back. But on LinkedIn, if you connect with somebody, they're automatically following you back. So that's like the number one piece that I always say is like very important about LinkedIn. Also, it's a very untapped market still within like the creator space and things like that. There's a lot of like CEOs, CMOs that are starting to come out of the woodwork and like have this personal brand on LinkedIn. But I think there is a space for people in the influencer marketing world, like influencers, creators, whatever, to go on there, talk about their experiences with brands, talk about, even pay transparency. Like that's a huge thing on LinkedIn. And even there's, I think now an app for that or something. So just a really big opportunity.
Oh, I just went over there. I'm like, should I hit follow? Like, I'm like, I'm going to go ahead. Because I know there's LinkedIn now for creators. That's a whole
yeah.
Won't go into it, but versus connections, right? Because now they're developing like the creator side.
Yeah. We actually had Jenny Park on the Marketing Happy Hour podcast. She's from LinkedIn, and she works with the creator team, and they're starting to really develop a lot of really fun stuff over there. And they have LinkedIn newsletters too, which is really fun. And when you create a newsletter on the platform, it automatically goes to all of your subscribers' email inboxes. So it's kind of like having an email list through LinkedIn. So you have both of those touch points. Yeah. I love LinkedIn. I could talk about it.
But I'm not overwhelmed. I'll look into it.
That was awesome.
Cassie, are you the same LinkedIn gal?
Oh yeah. No, 100%. I do love Instagram, but I would say LinkedIn is probably above it right now. I think for us, like personally, we have used it solely to do outreach for guests on the show. So we've had a lot of influencer strategists from different businesses and brands. And so for creators, it's a great place just to connect with those thought leaders and the people in charge of the influencer marketing teams for given brands. And so having a presence on there will help tremendously, I think, on the creative side. And to Erica's point, like she said, there's a market there for being a personal brand on that platform. And so starting to use it, tell your story on that platform, be present and consistent, and just connect with people and introduce yourself, making that personal touch point with people that you reach out to, I think is going to be incredibly effective.
Oh my God, rushing over to LinkedIn. It's like 100. And it's funny because we post on LinkedIn on our company page. I just haven't really taken the time to dive in and as much. we use it for pitching, obviously, with people, like outreach, like what you said, Cassie, like definitely for me, it's more of a tool. Like I'm like, oh, like let me go use, and then I'm out versus like living and breathing it, like how Erica was mentioning. Like the newsletter, I'm like, wait, what? Like we're not in it. We're like more like we're like using a tool, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I will say too, the organic reach on the platform is insane. So like I tell people too, if you're just present on there posting, your posts will get out to the right people. Unlike Facebook and like a couple other platforms, it's very difficult to get some reach on your post. People are on there trying to consume content, and the algorithm is a lot more user-friendly than other platforms. And so even just having that that opportunity there, just being consistent like you would on any other platform, I think, like I said, could go a really long
way. Totally. No, I'm like literally on it right now. I need to go back on. I'm stressed. No, I'm just joking. I feel like there's always some platform. And like you said, the moral of the story is here. What does it go? It grows where you water it type of vibe.
Yeah.
You know, wherever you water it, you're going to see results. Yeah. It's just hard when you're like everywhere.
Oh, for sure.
Focused, right? All right, ladies, thank you guys so much. And I'll make sure to include the links to everything below. And I look forward to joining you on your podcast soon. And I'll let our audience know where they can hear that interview as well.
Thank you.
All right, bye. For having us.